got some wedges in my hands, and today I'm going to talk to you just briefly about bounce. It's a big question we get asked a lot here at the Golf Shop Online. I get it asked a lot to me over the years as a golf coach. So bounce, we're talking about the sole of the club and how far the back end sits down from the leading edge. Now, why is this here? This is here to give you some relief when this club interacts with the ground, so you don't just get the leading edge of the club digging forevermore and burying itself to the center of the earth. What bounce will do is give you a little bit of relief. So when the leading edge starts hitting and the club, if you imagine doing a curve at the bottom, the back of the club starts hitting with the firmer, compacted ground underneath the grass, if you like, and then it'll start coming back out, allowing you hopefully to get through that turf and get more of the ball onto the face and not just get a big old chunky duff. Now, when it comes to bounce, you can get different variations of drop down at the back to the leading edge, so different degrees, and that's often denoted on the bottom of your club. So this is a medium sole, but it's got an 8-degree bounce. And when it comes to choosing the best bounce for your game, the best rule of thumb I can give to you is think about an area of golf where you struggle, so around the green. And what you want to do is try some different bounces in those areas and see if the bigger amount of bounce or the less amount of bounce gives you relief and improves those areas. So what I mean, let's pretend you're rubbish out of bunkers. You just duff them. Getting a club with a huge amount of bounce, big sole, big drop down at the back might allow you to get into that sand and it bounce back out, so you get a bit of the sand, none of the ball, see the sand underneath, and that ball gets out all the time. So you have a club with a big old sole and a big amount of bounce, and your bunker play improves. Which all sounds great, doesn't it? You've improved a part of your game. But remember, that club might need to be used on a tight lie. So you might have a fringe of a green, nice and tight, and you've got to chip over a bunker. Now that big sole, with big drop off on the bottom here, puts the leading edge further off the ground on a tight lie. So now that club maybe is not so good. So your bounce has to be diverse and needs to help you. So what I mean by that is find the place that you're worst at. Tight lies, fluffy lies, wet lies, mud lies, bunker lies, and find a bounce that helps you. Thicker soles, thinner soles, more bounce, less bounce. So less bounce for those tighter lies would be easier, more bounce for the fluffy lies and your bunkers, those kind of ideas is your rule of thumb. And if that helps you, that's great. But then take that wedge and put it on another area, a contrasting area. So take the big bouncing club and put it on the tight lie. And now if that makes you worse, there's no point improving one part of your game and then ruining the other part. Which is often why people end up with medium bounces, like an 8-degree. They often end up with medium soles, medium bounces. Because remember, bounce is dynamic as well. So what I mean by that, this is a measured from the back end to the leading edge of the club for bounce, but all that happens if I put the club forward, so you see how I've leaned the handle forwards, that bounce is removed, and then if I lean it back, I add bounce. So you can dynamically change this number in the style that you play. And I know what you're thinking. I've been talking for a few minutes and you're still probably thinking, I still don't quite get bounce. And if you're that kind of person, then definitely go with those medium bounces, and it'll give you the range of play of being able to add and take bounce off. It's a very overthought question, bounce. I think people get tied up a little bit too much on it. There are some improvements to be found in the areas of having wedges with the better bounce for you, but at the same time, remember, like everything in golf, it's dynamic. Simply put, the bounce is the back of the club to the leading edge, that angle. The more you add bounce, it's going to be better in situations where you need bounce. Fluffy lies, bunkers, where if you take that bounce away, you have less bounce. You put it on a tight lie, like if I was to hit off this tabletop, so super, super tight, I would want less bounce, meaning I'll just lean the handle forward and take it off. More bounce gives you more help in those trickier, fluffier situations. The tight, tricky situations, you're going to go for less bounce, which is why a nice medium bounce for most people is the best option. Let me know if any of this helped or not, and let me know if it didn't make sense, and I'll do another one. Because bounce is a tricky one to explain sometimes, but actually it's just overthought for most golfers.